The Croat-Bosniak War was a conflict between the Republic of Bosnia and Herzegovina and the self-proclaimed Croatian Community of Herzeg-Bosnia, supported by the Republic of Croatia, that lasted from 19 June 1992 to 23 February 1994. The Croat-Bosniak War is often referred to as a war within a war, because it was part of the larger Bosnian War. Although initially on the same side, at the end of 1992, tensions between Bosnian Croats and Bosniaks rose and their collaboration fell apart. In January 1993, the two former allies engaged in open conflict. On 23 February 1994 a ceasefire was reached and an agreement ending the hostilities was signed in Washington on 18 March 1994. Due to the involvement of Croatia's armed forces which supported Bosnian Croats, the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia effectively determined the war's nature to be international between Croatia and Bosnia and Herzegovina in numerous verdicts against Bosnian Croat political and military leaders. There are no precise statistics dealing with the casualties of the Croat-Bosniak conflict along ethnic lines. The Sarajevo-based Research and Documentation Center's data from 2007 on human losses in the region's caught in the Croat-Bosniak conflict as part of the wider Bosnian War, however, can serve as a rough approximation. The municipalities of Gornjevac, Fuskoplja and Bugojno are also geographically located in central Bosnia, with the 1,337 documented casualties are not included in central Bosnia statistics, but in Vrbar region statistics. Approximately 70 to 80% of the casualties from Gornj Povbej were Bosniaks. In the region of Neretva River with 6,717 casualties, 54% were Bosniaks, 24% Serbs and 21% Croats. The casualties in those regions were mostly but not exclusively the consequence of Croat-Bosniak conflict. To a lesser extent the conflict with the Serbs also resulted in a number of casualties included in the statistics. Background: on 29 February and 1 March 1992 an independence referendum was held in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Independence was strongly favored by Bosniaks and Bosnian Croats, while Bosnian Serbs largely boycotted the referendum. The majority of voters voted for independence and on 3 March 1992 Alija Izetbegović declared independence of the country, which was immediately recognized by Croatia. Following the declaration of independence, the Serbs attacked different parts of Bosnia and Herzegovina. The state administration of Bosnia and Herzegovina effectively ceased to function, having lost control over the entire territory. Initially, the governments of Zagreb and Sarajevo were on friendly terms. A military cooperation was achieved between the Croatian Defense Council and the Army of the Republic of Bosnia and Herzegovina, against the Yugoslav People's Army and the Army of Republika Srpska. Weapons for the Bosnian army were sent through Croatia despite the arms embargo. However, relations worsened by the second half of 1992. During the Yugoslav wars, the objectives of nationalists from Croatia were shared by many members of the HVO and Herzegovina. Mate Boban, Dario Kordic, Jadranko Prlic, Ignat Kostroman and local leaders such as Anto Valenta. On 12 November 1991, numerous leading members of the Bosnian HDZ drafted a document that stated, among other things, that the Croat people in Bosnia-Herzegovina must finally undertake a decisive and active policy that should bring about the realization of our centuries-old dream, a common Croatian state. It was signed by Mate Boban, Vladimir Soljic, Bozo Raic, Ivan Bender, Pero Markovic, Dario Kordic and others. On 18 November 1991, the party branch in Bosnia and Herzegovina proclaimed the existence of the Croatian Community of Herzeg-Bosnia as a separate political, cultural, economic and territorial whole on the territory of Bosnia and Herzegovina. In January 1992, Croatian President Franjo Tudman arranged for Stjepan Kaldus, president of the Bosnian branch of the HDZ, who favored cooperating with the Bosniaks towards a unified Bosnian state, to be ousted and replaced by mate Boban, who favored Croatia to annex Croat-inhabited parts of Bosnia and Herzegovina. The policies of Croatia and its president Franjo Tudman towards Bosnia and Herzegovina were never totally transparent. The Karađorđevo meeting on 25 March 1991 between Franjo Tudman and Slobodan Milosevic became controversial due to claims that the two presidents discussed the partition of Bosnia and Herzegovina between Croatia and Serbia. On 10 April 1992, mate Boban decreed that the Bosnian territorial defense, which had been created the day before, was illegal on territory of the Croatian Community of Herzeg-Bosnia. In May 1992, Tihomir Blaskić and Major General Ante Rosser also declared that to illegal. Rosser declared that the HVO was the only legal military force in Herzeg-Bosnia. On 9 May 1992, Karadzic and Boban met in Graz in order to arrange a ceasefire between Croat and Serb forces and discuss the division of Bosnia and Herzegovina. However, the parties ultimately parted ways without signing any agreement, and clashes between the two sides continued. In June 1992, efforts of the HVO to gain control of Novi Travnik and Gornji Vakuf were resisted. On 18 June 1992, the Bosnian Territorial Defense in Novi Travnik received an ultimatum from the HVO which included demands to abolish existing Bosnia and Herzegovina institutions, establish the authority of the Croatian Community of Herzeg-Bosnia and pledge allegiance to it, subordinate the territorial defense to the HVO, and expel Muslim refugees, all within 24 hours. The attack was launched on 19 June. The elementary school and the post office were attacked and damaged. Armed incidents started to occur among Croats in Bosnia and Herzegovina in the summer of 1992, between the HVO and the Croatian Defense Forces, a far-right paramilitary group of the Croatian Party of Rights. The HVO favored an ethnic partition of the republic, while the HOS fought together with the Muslims for the territorial integrity of the state. On 9 August 1992, Blaž Kraljević, leader of HOS, and 8 of his staff were assassinated by members of HVO under the command of Miladin Nalialic. This led to the dissolution of the primary group in support of a Bosniak-Croat alliance. On 3 July 1992, the Croatian Community of Herzeg-Bosnia was formally declared by mate Boban. Izetbegović previously came under intense pressure from Tudman to agree for Bosnia and Herzegovina to be in a confederation with Croatia, because doing so would cripple reconciliation between Bosniaks and Serbs, make the return of Bosniak refugees to eastern Bosnia impossible, and for other reasons, Izetbegović opposed. 2 weeks prior Boban's declaration, Izetbegović received an ultimatum from Boban warning that if he did not proclaim a confederation with Tudman, that Croatian forces would not help defend Sarajevo from strongholds as close as 25 miles away. 2 weeks later, on 21 July 1992, Tudman and Izetbegović signed the Agreement on Friendship and Cooperation between Bosnia and Herzegovina and Croatia, which placed the HVO under the command of Bosnian Territorial Defense Forces. On 7 September 1992, HVO demanded that the Bosniak militiamen withdraw from Croatian suburbs of Stup, Ber, Azici, Oates, Dogladi and parts of Nedzarici in Sarajevo, and issued an ultimatum. They denied that it was a general threat to Bosnian government forces throughout the country and claimed that Bosniak militiamen killed 6 of their soldiers. and looted and torched houses in Stup. The Bosniaks stated that the local Croatian warlord made an arrangement with Serb commanders to allow Serb and Croat civilians to be evacuated, often for ransom, but not Bosniaks. At the end of September, Tudman and Izetbegovic met to discuss the possibility of establishing military coordination against Bosnian Serb forces. Since June 1992, fierce fighting took place in the Bosnian Posavina during Operation Corridor 92, conducted by the VRS against HV and HVO forces to secure an open road between Belgrade, Banja Luka and Nin. VRS forces captured Mostarac on 28 June, Deventer on 4–5 July and Odak on 12 July. The outnumbered Croat forces were reduced to isolated positions in Bosanski Brod and Oraj, but were able to repel VRS attacks during August and September. In early October 1992, VRS managed to break through Croat lines and capture Bosanski Brod. HVO withdrew their troops north across the Sava River. The rapid fall of Bosanski Brod raised speculations about its cause. The Bosnian government suspected that a Croat-Serb ceasefire was brokered, but Croat attacks on the VRS positions in the area increased after the fall of Bosanski Brod, and they were able to repel a VRS offensive on Oraj in November. In Bugojno and Travnik, Croats found themselves reduced practically overnight from around half the local population to a small minority. In the latter half of 1992, foreign mujahideen hailing mainly from North Africa and the Middle East began to arrive in central Bosnia and set up camps for combatant training, with the intent of helping their Muslim brothers against the Serbs. These foreign volunteers were primarily organized into an umbrella detachment of the 7th Muslim Brigade of the Arbor in Zenica. Initially, the mujahideen gave basic necessities including food to local Muslims. When the Croat-Bosniak conflict began, they joined the Arbor in battles against the HVO. Croat-Bosniak violence increased in late October 1992. On 23 October, street battles started in the town of Prizor. The town was shelled by HVO artillery during the night and took control of it in the evening of 24 October. Around 5,000 Muslims fled from Prizor, but they began to return gradually a few days of weeks after the fighting had stopped. By November 1992, the HVO controlled about 20% of Bosnia and Herzegovina. By December 1992, much of central Bosnia was in the hands of the Croats. The Croat forces had taken control of the municipalities of the Lasva Valley and had only met significant opposition in Novi Travnik and Armasai. Bosniak authorities forbade Croats from leaving towns such as Bugojno and Zenica, and would periodically organize exchanges of local Croats for Muslims. The ICTY trial chamber in the Kordic and Circus case decided that the weight of the evidence points clearly to the persecution of Bosniak civilians in the central Bosnian municipalities taken over by the Croat forces. Busovice, Novi Travnik, Varest, Kiseljak, Vitez, Kresovo and Zepsa. The persecution followed a consistent pattern in each municipality and demonstrated that the HVO had launched a campaign against the Bosniaks in them, with the hope that the self-proclaimed Croatian Community of Herzeg-Bosnia should secede from Bosnia and Herzegovina, and with a view towards unification with Croatia. The HVO and the Bosnian army continued to fight side by side against the army of Republika Srpska in some areas of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Even though armed confrontation in central Bosnia strained the relationship between the HVO and Arbor, the Croat-Bosniak alliance held in the Bitak pocket and the Bosanska Posavina, in which both were heavily outmatched by Serb forces.